One of Texas's longest-serving state officials announces she's leaving political life. Tonight, we're sitting down with Susan Combs to talk about her career as comptroller, plus what her announcement means for the lieutenant governor's race. It's a flashback to 2011. Redistricting maps are back before a district court, but it seems there may be more questions than answers. We'll have the latest from San Antonio, plus the Quorum Report's Harvey Kronberg joins us in the studio. And lawmakers are sticking around for a special session, and this time around the rules are a little different. Former lawmakers Aaron Pena and Sherry Greenberg explain how it works. Capitol Tonight starts right now. And thanks for joining us here on Capitol Tonight. I'm Paul Brown. It was learned today that Susan Combs, the state comptroller, will not be running in 2014. She was here on our show recently to discuss her political future, and she is back to talk about her decision. Susan Combs joins us now. Thanks very much for being with us again.
Thank you, Paul. Glad to be back.
I know when we spoke to you last, you were going to take Memorial Day weekend to go to the ranch and talk it over with your husband as far as your political future. Why make the decision not to run?
Joe and I talked on Sunday, and he asked about whether I wanted to run for re-election or not, and then he talked about sort of the long-term age, et cetera, and he said, you've had 20 years, and it's kind of time for some other things, and I think maybe he wants to go from hubby to hobby. So I'm planning on making him part of my hobby, but I've got lots of other plans in the last 18 months of my term as comptroller that I'm very excited about, and I will be working nonstop.
And I want to talk about some of that here in a second. Just to get some of the politics out of the way, I know that, of course, Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst has indicated he was going to run for Lieutenant Governor. There was no secret that that was a possibility that you could run for that office. Did his defeat for Senate and his running again influence your decision as well?
No. In fact, I had told David some months ago that if he ran, I would not run against him. And he has been a good friend. And in fact, my youngest son was employed by him for 6 years. My youngest son was encouraged by him to get an MBA that gave him time off. And I feel a sense of loyalty to friends. And I think maybe that's not in big enough supply, but I'm a fan of David's.
I know as you look back on your career, including as comptroller, and obviously before that as ag commissioner in the legislature as well, but most recently you have really pushed for transparency in government spending. You've been praised for that. You were hopeful that this legislative session there would be a piece of legislation that would go through that would kind of put a window on some things. Express your perhaps disappointment in that and what you plan to perhaps do about it.
Well, one bill, we had an official sign this morning, House Bill 13, which was about pension transparency. But the big one, the big enchilada, House Bill or Senate Bill 14 died twice. 2 points of order in the House, and I was very disappointed. To put it in perspective, I was surprised by the extraordinary lengths to which governmental entities wanted to go to stop people from finding out how much debt they already have. And we got to feeling in the office a couple of weeks ago that the bill might not make it. And so I launched a website yesterday, www.tellthetruth.texas.org, and we're going to do our best in my agency to replicate what House and Senate Bill 14 would have done, because I think it's incumbent upon government to tell you what you owe. And
you've received feedback, and some not so pleasant, I suppose, from maybe some entities that pushed for the bill not to pass.
Yeah, I mean, I had some people say, why should they know if we told you how much you owed? I had a gentleman, a mayor, tell me if the folks here knew how much they owed, they'd be very confused. Well, the answer is they are the ones paying the freight. And for any public official to view the public as too stupid to know but plenty smart to pay is a problem. And so I'm at least going to give the public on the internet, hopefully in about 12 months, all this information and then hold people accountable.
No, you have about a year and a half left. As you said, you've got lots of things that you want to do. You know, being the first ag commissioner, female ag commissioner, and you know, obviously there are not a lot of top office holders who are female. Has this been something that has been a challenge for you just over your career, particularly at this level of politics?
No, I mean, people, I think, are gender blind if you're competent. and wearing high heels always helped. Gave me a little extra headroom. But no, I never found that people didn't believe me or didn't trust me for gender. I think they just want to know, are you competent? Do you work hard? And do you actually espouse principles that are good public policy?
I know all top office holders have their share of critics and go through incidents over the past, and not to rehash anything because that could be with any politician, but does that atmosphere, that potential criticism also maybe lead you to maybe want to call it quits in politics ultimately?
No, I think you have to decide what do you want to still accomplish. And had I felt there was something else and only I could accomplish, it would be sort of damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, I don't care. And that was how I was on child nutrition. I thought it was extraordinarily important, no matter what, to do the right thing. And I asked myself, what could I do in another 5.5 years in this office? I can do it in a year. And that's why I thought, okay, let's be realistic. Can I do other things elsewhere? And so I'm actually going to be talking to other states. I'm going to go to other states and talk about transparency, about public spending, about accountability. We will reach the $1 billion mark of giving unclaimed property back in about 3 or 4 months, which is unheard of. And I want to sort of let other folks know that Texas does it right and see if we can't help them do the same.
Final thing I'll ask you, you're not running for lieutenant governor. Do you support David Dewhurst in his bid?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I've made that clear to him.
Okay. Susan Combs, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, there are already plenty of Republicans lining up to run for Comptroller Combs' seat. So far, former gubernatorial candidate Deborah Medina and State Senator Glenn Hager have formally announced their intentions. Senate Finance Chair Tommy Williams issued a statement saying he's exploring a run but won't make an official decision until after the session. Ways and Means Committee Chair Representative Harvey Hildebrand has also expressed interest. With Comptroller Combs out of consideration, the field for lieutenant governor just got a bit smaller. 2 commissioners have already said that they will challenge Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst. Capitol Tonight's Leanne Wallace caught up with both of them today. She joins us now in the studio with the details. Leanne?
Well, Paul, we know that 2 of the state's top office holders have already thrown their hats in the ring to run for lieutenant governor, but not to mention the incumbent himself. Agriculture Commissioner Todd Staples and Land Commissioner Jerry Patterson have both come out as contenders in the race. The 2 Republicans thank Comptroller Combs for her years of service to the state. And now, with what could have been one of their biggest challengers opting out of running, their focus continues to be on reaching out to voters.
These next few months will be very telling. A lot of speculation about who will do what, but I'm committed to running for lieutenant governor. I started this process 2 years ago, traveled all over the state. People are hungry for change. People are hungry for new faces to step forward.
I think they want to hear specifics. I think they want to, they're no longer interested in, I'm the more conservative candidate. They want to know, what does that mean? How do you judge that? They want specificity as opposed to rhetoric.
Additional candidates are expected to step forward in the coming months to announce a run for the spot. Still no word on who might run from the Democratic Party. And again, Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst has already said he is seeking re-election. We did reach out to him today, but our calls were not returned. Well.
Okay, Leanne, thank you very much. Still to come, battle lines are being drawn and redrawn over district lines. The redistricting fight is back. We have an update from San Antonio Federal Court when we come back.